It's time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't.
What?
This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for.
All right, so Donald Trump put this out. Governor Gavin Newsom, I like him, but I call him Newsom. It's affectionate.
I call him Newsom, and I say he should be thrown in prison, but he's a nice guy. I like him.
He's a nice guy. And Mayor Bass should apologize to the people of Los Angeles for the absolutely horrible job that they have done. And this now includes the ongoing LA riots. These are not protesters. They are troublemakers and insurrectionists. Remember, no masks. Now, you want to talk right off the bat about a PsyOp, and Jimmy, you've talked about this a lot. They empower strong Republicans and weak Democrats. You cannot tell me, because at this point, I know too many strong people who are on the left for me to believe that this is an accident, that everyone who gets elevated is a weak moron. There's no way that that's by accident.
Right.
That you only have people like Newsom and Bass in positions of power in the Democratic Party. It makes no sense. Everyone in Los Angeles wear masks all the time until the feds leave. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish that. These are not protesters. They are troublemakers and insurrectionists. Remember, no masks. So Jim Stewartson here responds, everyone in Los Angeles wear masks all the time until the feds leave. They want to put your face in a Palantir database so they can surveil you. Do not cooperate. It is your right to wear what you want. Absolutely. Now, Laura Loomer here, champion of freedom that she is, they call her Lady Liberty around the happy hour. Time to deploy Palantir tech to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. Wow, I think she misread a lot of the room. So James Lee here commented on this and kind of sums up a lot of what we've been talking about here.
Say some pretty unpopular things, starting with this is not good. Also, this is not a peaceful protest, but something very disturbing is happening in the background that I think you should know about. It's time to deploy Palantir to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't.
What?
This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for. Remember, when they justified the passing of the Patriot Act over 20 years ago, they told us we needed all this extra power to go after the bad guys, to get rid of the terrorists. But almost immediately, the government started to use that extra power they were given to spy on ordinary Americans, right? How can you be so sure that you will not be deemed an enemy of the state one day? There's absolutely no guarantee that this master database won't be weaponized against you. And to be perfectly honest, history tells us that the likelihood is pretty high that it will be used against you one day. So to quote RFK Jr., 1, any power that the government takes from the people, it will never return voluntarily. 2, every power that the government takes, it will ultimately be abused to the maximum extent possible. 3, nobody ever complied their way out of totalitarianism. The only thing we can do is resist. Be careful out there, people.
RFK Jr. should tell his boss that. So Kurt Metzger, friend of show Kurt Metzger, replied to Laura Loomer, do you really not comprehend the level of evil fuck of Alex Karp and Peter Thiel? And Ian Carroll, Laura, how would you feel if it was deployed to target Jews? Not great, right? Once you give the government a power, you never give it back. You are giving that power to every future administration. So the question should always be, what if this was used to target me? Here. Stephen Miller has a very different take on all this, predictably. While ICE officers are battling violent mobs in Los Angeles, Rand Paul is trying to cut funding for deportations and border security. On Fox this morning, I argued for $75 billion in new spending for the border. Current estimates are that a 1,000 miles of wall can be built for about $7 billion, and $68 billion would still employ thousands of new Border Patrol agents, immigration judges, and expanded detention facilities. Okay. Now, Kentucky Statesman here responding to Thomas Massey. While ICE officers are battling violent mobs in the Los Angeles PsyOp, Stephen Miller is working hard to pass the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, to shield Palantir and their Orwellian AI surveillance algorithms from being regulated by the states for 10 years so they can't interfere with the upcoming New World Order. And what he's quote tweeting from Massey is the Big Beautiful Bill contains a provision banning state and local governments from regulating AI. It's worse than you think. It would make it easier for corporations to get zoning variants so massive AI data centers could be built in close proximity to residential areas. Getting the picture? Getting the picture? I'll throw in a little side element that's not in this slideshow. We did a story about how the University of Zurich did an experiment that they caught hell for because they didn't tell anyone they were doing it. They sent AI bots into Reddit to persuade people of things, and they found that they were more persuasive than humans. Now, if the University of Zurich just did that experiment, what do you think the odds are that the three-letter agencies have not been doing that for years and years? Look at some of the really crazy, divisive comments you'll see on X, and then go look at how many followers they have. It's like 27, right? Why? Almost always. You think they're not setting loose fake AI bots posing as people in order to steer you in one direction or another, depending on your ideological biases, and keep you arguing over the immigrants and the wall while they build a police state around you? So this is Whitney, who basically this is her life's work exposing this kind of thing. Palantir is not just a military contractor. It was a company created to privatize and house the Bush-era neocon-run surveillance program, Total Information Awareness, housed previously at DARPA, and put it under increased CIA control, though the CIA was also intimately involved with TIA. TIA was shut down by Congress because it would have eradicated the constitutional right to privacy, but Palantir has accomplished that and gotten away with it because it is a private sector entity. You know how we're always saying, well, we should make social media a publicly held interest in order to have constitutional protections. Okay, so if you're a government agency like the CIA, you have to stay within certain constitutional constraints, theoretically. Whitney has written quite a lot about Palantir specifically, how they used Palantir to get around the Constitution, because, you know, you say, well, they're a private company, they could do what they want. So government agencies like the CIA said, yeah, they can do what they want. So let's subcontract out the stuff that we might get in trouble if we did it, because they don't have those constraints. Yep. Palantir's earliest funder besides Peter Thiel, the CIA. Palantir's first client for its first several years as a company, the CIA. Where did Palantir engineers every 2 weeks for years go for guidance in developing their products? CIA HQ. Palantir's originally intended clients per CEO Alex Karp, the CIA. If there ever was a CIA front company, it's Palantir, though Peter Thiel has since quipped that the CIA is a front for Palantir. So Jimmy tweeted this out. Does this guy look like someone panicking and thou doth protest too much. That's because he's doing exactly what he's being accused of, and people are starting to catch on, and he's panicking. So this was an appearance the Karp did on very, very, very friendly to CEO criminal network, CNBC.
New York Times has an article. Here's the headline. Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans. They paint a pretty Orwellian picture of what you and the Trump administration are doing.
Over here, I picked a random engineer and I said, we have a contest. Find all the technically absolutely erroneous things in this article in 90 seconds. And I picked a random engineer. I was like, well, how many do you think you could do in 90 seconds? He's like, well, 15, 20. But leaving aside the technical, look, it's probably
wrong.
hard
Is that
for
what you're
them,
saying?
I'm sure. Well, it's not. Well, first of all, on the tech side, it is so ridiculous. I read the New York Times. It's literally like I'm a dyslexic. They might as well be hiring me to do a spelling bee. So, maybe they just have friends who are tech bros, but they can't.
Okay, and I'm going to say this seems to be a very common tactic of these billionaire CEOs, because Elon likes to pull that line too. Yeah, my head's made out of wood. I'm a stupid guy. It's a deflection to hide what they actually are and what they actually do. I couldn't be responsible for this. I'm dyslexic. I'm a dumb guy.
And hire on a meritocratic basis, I don't know. So that's up to them. We have a contest. Find all the errors in 90 seconds. I think somebody will find 50 or 60. But the more important thing is, we are not surveilling Americans. We are not building a database to surveil. And if you wanted to do that, the last platform in the world you would buy is Palantir. And don't believe me, spend 10 minutes and look at the architecture of our product. 10 minutes. And then see how ridiculous that is. By the way, writing ridiculous shit in a highly charged environment is dangerous. And the New York Times should take responsibility for the danger they're putting out in the world. There really are people who believe.
Isn't it funny how woke these anti-wokesters become whenever it suits them, how quickly they go to ruling anything they don't like as out of bounds on the basis that it's threatening their safety or the safety of the country or the safety of whoever, fill in the blank. They go right to the woke language. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to say this.
That crap.
Well,
they believe that.
One thing that's true, though, is that you.
Yeah. Our code is not open source, but hey, go take 10 minutes looking into it. And the only people who are able to do that have security clearances and work for our company. But hey, go ahead and do it. Sounds good. Sounds like it makes sense, right?
I'm wearing a plain white T-shirt, just like you at home.
Just like you. I'm just folks.
Yes,
I'm just folks.
I'm just one of you.
So this is also from Jimmy. Palantir is creating the most mind-boggling surveillance state apparatus known to man, and they're doing it in conjunction with the Trump administration. It used to be called Total Information Awareness. Not only are they taking your IRS data and your Social Security data and your healthcare data, but they are compiling your buying habits, your phone calls and texts, your Google searches, etc. Everything and anything about you, and they put it into a database on you. You will be controlled in all things, including pre-crime. You will have an effective social credit score and a digital ID and CBDC. Trump is the perfect person to have this happen under because he sells himself as the opposite of a deep state character. And so it silences his base, which is the natural opposition to this kind of surveillance state. It's worse than you think. And it's definitely why the head of Palantir is appearing so freaked out. People are catching on. Scott Smielkowski. That's a name. Diabolical. Why is Trump allowing this to happen? Jimmy continues. Because Trump is not what he appears to be. Why did he shut down the investigation into his assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania? Why did his FBI chief insist that Epstein committed suicide? Why did Trump keep Doge from going to the Pentagon? Why did Trump explode the Pentagon budget and the debt instead of cutting it like he promised? It's because Trump is not actually an opponent of the deep state, but he is in bed with them, which is why he was allowed to become president in the first place. Yeah, those are some truth bombs right there.
Well, I take you're definitely you're not making it back into the country now.
Man, that's
Better
it.
find a place over there.
I don't know if you really wanted to sit in on this segment, Jimmy. So here's Alex Karp saying the kind of thing that I promise you, if Reid Hoffman said it, MAGA would be all over this.
And we were asked if we were willing to supply our product philanthropically, basically for free. And I was very in favor of this because our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
Set a global standard for the world for behavior. So yeah, to Jimmy's point, the reason that they brought in Donald Trump was because Harris was never going to be able to sell the New World Order. She was never going to be able to sell it. They saw that. Listen, the smoking gun, no pun intended to me, is the assassination thing. This is a guy who has made a point of going after every law firm that ever looked at him funny since he won the election. And he didn't turn the place upside down as soon as he got in to get to the bottom of this assassination. Look how obscured and erased the details of this assassination have become. Who has tried to kill a president whose name you don't know? David Hinckley. I still right off the top of my head, right? Do you know this guy's name? We're in this space. Jimmy, do you know this guy's name? Who tried to shoot Trump?
I do not know that.
Right. How is that not constantly being drilled? Every assassination attempt I've ever seen, the person's name was front page every day.
Yeah. His last name is Crooks because I looked it up. I forget his first name though. I looked it up recently because that is a point that you made. But yeah, no, it is. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that is definitely a tell.
Right. And then you've got Pam Bondi saying we've got thousands of tapes, and you got Kash Patel saying we don't have tapes. These are not the tapes you're looking for. It tries to pull a Jedi mind trick there with Rogan. Yeah, man, it's becoming increasingly obvious that Trump was allowed to ascend to the presidency because look, they got this thing wired, man. If they can't get it one way, they'll get it another way. And now I hope, I do believe there is a lot of the MAGA movement who do see through this, and you are seeing a lot of them speak out on it. The ones who don't speak out on it, that's going to tell you who the people getting paid are, and a lot of them are getting paid. A lot of it is just a business at this point.
But and here's the other thing though, even with regard to I think there are a considerable amount of Trump supporters or at least Trump voters who are hip to this. That's why you're seeing all this conversation around Palantir from guys like Ian Carroll and the like. Yep. From an electoral standpoint though, what the hell are they going to do about it? I mean, this is the vice script that they have. Like, what are you going to do? You can't vote for the Democrats, right?
Right.
Like in the electoral system, the only guy who could have really done anything about this was Eugene Debs, and he had to run from prison. Right. Like people who are really going to be a threat don't get close. If you get close, it's because they can get to you.
They got to you. Exactly.
And that's not to say you don't engage at all, but in terms of the electoral thing, it's just, I mean, if this doesn't tell you what a dead end that is, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and that is why we are post-duopoly. So Patriot Voice here sums it up. This is alarming for several reasons. Trump just made a deal with him and allowed his company to weave intricately into the fabric of the whole federal government, creating a merged massive database of all our personal sensitive data for the first time in history. This is significant because, yes, the government has always had our data by way of the NSA, but it's never been merged together across all agencies with the help of a third-party corporation like Palantir, which acts more like an intel agency than a company. They did this using a back door through Doge, and Elon Musk facilitated the process. That was his true role. Remember, he was going to cut $2 trillion. What'd you end up with? $9 billion? Proposing $9 billion
in a bill that's not going to pass. They're going to have to go and monkey with that even more.
Yeah, it was never about any saving the government. That was his true role. Palantir and Elon go way back, And recently, XAI has partnered with Palantir along with BlackRock. Deep state. In fact, Palantir is quite literally funded by the CIA through In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's venture capital arm. In a nutshell, Trump just employed a proxy of the CIA to create the largest surveillance police state in American history. Did you know that Alex Karp also bragged about stopping the rise of the far right in Europe? Why would Trump, who is supposed to be a right-wing populist, allow such intentional subversion by a self-professed progressive like Alex Karp to infiltrate our government? They want to set a standard for behavior because that is the standard upon which the coming social credit system will be measured, and that will tie directly into our data profile, financial, medical, personal, including our usage of carbon, which will be taxed. Everything we do will be monitored by smart devices, and that information will factor into our social credit score, which will dictate the privileges we are allowed to have or not. That is the nightmare version that these psychopaths have for our future, and it is being enabled. Through the Internet of Bodies, they will even know our thoughts, and any dissent or opposition will be swiftly punished. They are even able to create pre-crime, thought crime scenarios to set us up for crimes we never committed using advanced AI. Sound familiar? This all plays into the depopulation agenda as well, because we are seen as the carbon. We are the carbon they want to reduce. Imagine if the movies Terminator and Minority Report became a reality, and that is what we're up against. If you can't already see it and are still having a hard time understanding, Palantir is literally the deepest part of the deep state, and Trump is rolling out the red carpet for them to usher in what will certainly be the beast system, a cashless society in which you will be tracked and monitored every second of every day, and your behavior will dictate how you get to live in society. This is absolutely the Great Reset and Build Back Better, spelled with a 666, right? Repackaged MAGA style, the biggest rug pull in history. Yeah, that was a little long, but he pulled all the threads together. Obviously, some Book of Revelations overtones there. But overall, his take is one we've touched on a lot on our show and over here. I have long been saying they're trying to kill us. That is part of why they want to get rid of healthcare. What do they want us to have healthcare for? They don't need us anymore. The AI is coming in. The AI now, it's not just blue collar work that they can automate. Now they can automate the white collar work. A large, restive, unemployed population is dangerous to them. It is better to kill everybody off with lack of health care than the alternative, which you're seeing them set up that option too. It's to come and Tiananmen Square everybody, right? They're gonna come and they're gonna confront protesters and they're gonna gun them down in the streets. Hey, that could happen in Los Angeles before all of this is over. And the faction that is most likely to resist is MAGA. That's why they had to put in Trump. They couldn't have done this under Harris. If Alex Karp said that as part of and he was connected to Kamala Harris, oh my God, man, they'd be storming city halls all around the country. County seats of government would be getting protests outside. This is happening under Trump. Yeah, get those immigrants out of the country. This is exactly what I voted for. Yeah, it is what you voted for, and you're not going to get shit out of it. Whenever we bring this up, people bring it to, why, you think that doesn't suppress wages? Listen, I've said this many times. I experienced it. I used to drive a horse and carriage. You don't have to make the argument to me that having illegal immigrants come into a business can suppress wages for working people. I come from a working class background. I saw construction go from a very good job to a pretty low paying job. My best friend was a general contractor. After a while, I couldn't get enough money for it to even be worth it for him to do the jobs. Yeah, man, that's true. But they are not going after these immigrants in order to improve your conditions. If they were, they wouldn't be doing everything else that they're doing, like cutting Pell Grants. They wouldn't be giving themselves an enormous tax cut They wouldn't be trying to cut Medicaid if they actually cared about the working class. If they were actually increasing healthcare for working class people, if they were putting money into setting up training centers for people to get better jobs, if they were increasing financial aid for people to get an education, and they were doing this, you might say they're doing this very badly, but with the intention of helping the working class. When you put that all in context, what, this is the one thing they're doing for the working class? Really? No, this is the thing they're doing to distract the working class from their actual agenda, which is the Palantir agenda. And that is what's going on in LA right now. It is getting the people most likely to fight the New World Order to cheer it on.
Well, I've heard this theory, and this is a little further down the rabbit hole, but, I've heard people float the theory that actually the flood of migrants, the flow of migrants from the South up north under Biden was really intended to create a backlash and bring in a guy like Trump, who could then build this security apparatus under the guise of being strong on immigration. Right. Because it wasn't just to suppress wages, because if it was just to suppress wages, then everything you said would be different, right? They'd be taking measures to actually empower people and bring wages back up, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And so, yeah, man, it makes you wonder. It certainly does.
Yeah, I do feel that I don't feel people who are saying that they let all these immigrants in to destabilize society are wrong. I think they're just getting one half of the picture. The purpose was to bring in Trump, to bring in someone like Trump, who under the guise of doing something about it could set up this completely centralized police state and have people deluded into thinking, yeah, this is about us. This is about, look at the language they're using. Los Angeles, this once great city, really, it's the immigrants that destroyed Los Angeles. It's not what's happened across the entire country, decades of stagnant wages and all of the productivity gains being filtered increasingly to a higher and higher income bracket until now it's all concentrated in the 1% of income earners that get most of the gains. That's not what's destroyed the country. It's the immigrants.
Yep.
I mean, that's definitely it. And, I've made the case many times that, open borders, as Bernie Sanders pointed out before he became a complete cuck to the Democratic Party, used to be considered by Democrats a Koch brothers operation to suppress wages. So it does do that. Right, it definitely does. It has multiple purposes. The second one being that it keeps us from coming together to organize against the establishment and the oligarchy. So we keep being angry and fighting at people lower than us on the economic ladder instead of the people creating that situation. And third, and I'm going to guess this may be the biggest reason, is what you just pointed out. It's so that they can use it as a reason to expand the surveillance state. It's like this is the last piece of the puzzle in the surveillance state. It started with 9/11 and the Patriot Act, and this would be the last piece with Palantir, which is why Alex Karp was freaking out so hard.
Yeah, I agree.
1775 is giving away free starter kits loaded with premium coffee and gear. While coffee prices have jumped over 30% this year, 1775 said screw it and started flinging free kits like a caffeinated Oprah on a rampage. If you've been waiting for a sign from God or just a halfway decent excuse to finally try it, this is it. But it's only live for while quantities last. So you'll get 3 bags of coffee, 2 16-ounce of your choice, dark or medium, plus their longevity blend, infused with anti-aging calcium AKG, clinically proven to reduce biological age. Translation, your morning coffee just got more effective than your multivitamin, your chiropractor, and midlife crisis combined. You cover 2 bags, $17.75 covers the rest. That's a full 16-ounce bag of coffee plus premium gear. Give me a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or reusable K-cup filter. Whole bean, ground, or pods, it's your call. Start your day with your coffee that actually backs what you believe in. Smooth, jitter-free, anti-woke, and laced with the kind of energy that keeps you young, sharp, and mildly dangerous. Go to 1775coffee.com/door and grab your free starter kit before someone realizes this was a terrible business decision. Come see us on tour in Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.